Have you ever felt that it wasn't the loss of a person that hurt you anymore, but your own mind refusing to let go? You no longer speak to them, yet they remain present in every thought, every heartbeat, every silence in the dark. It's not them who continues to hurt you, it's you, still clinging to a broken thread, hoping it will mend again, simply because you fear walking forward alone. But what you truly need is not for them to return, but for you to return to yourself. We live in a world where everyone is searching for peace, yet we cling to the very things that disturb it. We hope others will change so we can feel better. We wait for an explanation just to find closure. But Stoicism teaches us this: peace is not a destination. It is a quiet strength that arises the moment you stop trying to control what lies beyond your reach and start mastering yourself. In this video, we won't learn how to forget someone. We'll learn how to rise above ourselves. When you focus inward and release what has already left your life, that is not failure. It is the moment peace becomes power. Are you ready to begin that journey? 1. Peace begins with boundaries. What can't you control? There's a kind of pain that doesn't come from what someone did to you, but from constantly trying to change what was never yours to change. Some nights you toss and turn, not because they did something wrong, but because you can't accept your own powerlessness. You keep replaying an old conversation, searching for the words you should have chosen differently. You imagine dozens of what-ifs and if-onlys, as if you could go back and steer the heart of someone who already left. But you can't, because the truth is, their heart was never in your hands. That's not a loss. That's an illusion being stripped away. Stoicism doesn't show up to soothe you with hollow comfort. It comes to shatter the mirror you keep looking into, the one reflecting the image of someone who believes they can save a relationship through sheer effort. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That is not an invitation to surrender. It's a map that leads you out of the maze of expectations. In that world, you believe that if you loved enough, if you were sincere enough, you would be loved in return. But love is not a contract. No one owes you closure, and you owe no one a version of yourself burned out from trying too hard. There is a thin line between kindness and self-destruction. When you keep texting, waiting, hoping, pulling at someone who's already chosen to walk away, you're no longer living for yourself. You're living through their existence, or more accurately, the version of them still alive in your mind. And in that moment, you lose the most precious thing: your inner freedom. Every minute spent checking your phone, guessing how someone feels, is a minute you hand over control of your life. Insecurity doesn't come from what they did. It comes from placing faith in something you were never meant to control. That is where exhaustion begins, and also where peace must be redefined. Peace doesn't come from everything outside going your way. It comes when you dare to say to yourself, "I can't control that, and I no longer need to." You're not weak for letting go. You're strong for being clear-headed enough to stop wasting yourself on a war no one else is fighting. When you draw the line between what you influence and what lies beyond you, you stop playing the victim. You no longer live in the chapter called "What did I do wrong?" but turn to the next one titled, "What will I do with myself today?" Some people leave not because you are bad, but because their path no longer aligns with yours. Some relationships can't be saved, not for lack of love, but for lack of compatibility. And some things simply don't belong in your hands, no matter how much you love, message, or hurt. When you accept that, you're no longer powerless. You are the one standing among the ruins, picking up fragments of your soul and reassembling them into something stronger. Peace begins with a boundary where you know when to stop, and know that not everything worth letting go was ever worth holding on to. There are things you cannot control, and that is the first kind of freedom you must learn to honor. 2. Stop romanticizing the past. Truth doesn't need to shine to be real. Once you've redrawn the line between what you can control and what you must release, you'll uncover a deeper truth. What holds you back isn't the person they're gone, it's the overly polished memory you crafted of them. If you're not careful, the past won't just leave you with regret, it will trick you into thinking you lost the best thing that ever happened to you, when in truth, it was just a glossy finish over a crack you refuse to see. We aren't addicted to memories, we're addicted to the edited version of them. You remember the nights you both laughed, but forget that those laughs came after weeks of silence. You remember the warm voice on a call, but ignore the emptiness that followed when it ended. Our minds hold on to the prettiest frames, amplify them, coat them with vague emotions, and then wonder why we can't let go. But you're not stuck because of who they were. You're stuck because you're clinging to a story that never existed the way you remember it. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If you are pained by external things, it is not they that disturb you, but your own judgment of them." And in this case, it is your own embellishment that turned memories into shackles. You think what's gone was beautiful, but are you brave enough to see it as a stranger would? No filters, no softening, no excuses. Can you face their eyes on that last day eyes with no warmth left? Can you recall what it felt like to text and be met with silence, or have you erased every invisible moment just to protect a glowing image of us that only existed in your mind? The truth doesn't need to shine to exist. It only needs you to look and not turn away. When you stop idealizing the past, you finally see. You didn't lose a paradise, you left a relationship where you had to pretend to be okay more than once. And that's not something to mourn. You can't heal if you keep painting over the things that made you bleed. Memory may be gentle, but truth is always clear. When you choose to remember someone, remember all of them, not just the pleasant parts. Remember the silence when you needed their voice. Remember the loneliness you felt even while they were still there. Don't color memory with desire. Let it stay in its original shade, gray, sharp, and honest. Liberation doesn't come from forgetting, it comes from seeing clearly. You don't need to rewrite the past, you just need to stop distorting it. And when the light of truth shines directly on the corners you once tried to cover, you'll see this. What hurt wasn't losing them. It was falling in love with a version of them that never existed. And nothing stings more than being betrayed by your own memory. But nothing is more powerful than the person who can look at the past and no longer cry. 3. Distance doesn't make you cold, it makes you clear. And once you've seen the past with eyes no longer clouded by desire, you'll find yourself standing at a crossroads. Either keep looking back or begin stepping back, not to escape, but to reclaim the distance you need from what no longer holds you up. Because sometimes it's staying too close to a person, a memory, or a worn-out emotion that keeps you from healing. And distance is not indifference. It is the final act of clarity. People often think creating distance is cold, dismissive, heartless. But in truth, distance is the antidote to the things you once thought you couldn't live without. You can't keep cleaning the wound in your heart if you let someone or the memory of them walk in with dirty shoes every day. Every time you check their story, every time you quietly revisit a place hoping they might remember too, you give away a piece of the peace that was supposed to be yours. Attachment isn't always about words or presence. Sometimes it's just habit, and distance is the only way to break that habit. Distance doesn't harden your heart, it sharpens your mind. It is the action of someone who finally understands that closeness isn't always love, and separation doesn't always mean forgetting. True connection, if it ever existed, won't disappear just because you unfollow them or stop replying to vague messages. But clarity, the thing you now need more than anything, only shows up when you're brave enough to remove yourself from the obsessive cycle where the past keeps returning in quieter, smaller forms, still strong enough to keep you stuck. Remember how it felt after cleaning out an old room. That initial emptiness made you question your decision, but then, that space once cleared of someone else's dust becomes a place where you can finally breathe again. Distance doesn't extinguish love. It only extinguishes the illusion that you can't live without them. And in that space of separation, you begin to see the line between love and dependency. You don't need to make an announcement, no dramatic goodbye, no door slammed shut to prove you've walked away. Sometimes it's just silence, not texting anymore, not waiting anymore, not walking back to what once made you feel small. And in that silence, you begin to hear your own return. No longer ruled by what others are doing or not doing. No longer letting someone rent space in your mind without permission. Distance is a statement without sound. I choose to reclaim my space. And sometimes that single decisive act is the clearest expression of love for yourself. Because only when you're awake enough to step back can you finally see how far you had drifted. And from there, you begin the journey back not to the past, but to the person you were always meant to become. For reaction is a weapon. Used wrongly, you wound yourself. When distance begins to reshape your inner world, you stop living in reflex and start living in choice. And from there, a truth reveals itself clearer than any advice you've ever heard. It's not what happens that hurts. It's how you react. Some people say one thing, and it ruins your whole day. Some say nothing, and you interpret that silence as rejection, then fall apart on your own. In the inner world, reaction is a weapon, and used carelessly, you'll be the first to fall by the blade in your own hand. No one teaches us that anger doesn't need to explode to be harmful. Just holding it in long enough will corrode everything you're trying to protect. No one warns you that sometimes a single glance, a minor gesture, can burn down the entire structure of self-worth you spent years building. But Stoicism is different. It doesn't teach you to go numb. It teaches you to question your reaction. Why does this shake me? Was that truly a choice or just a reflex born from unhealed wounds? Reactions are never innocent. Every time you lash out, you're telling the other person they've taken control of your mind. Every time you defend, beg, or prove you're not as awful as they claim, you're letting them rewrite your worth using the language they choose. And the deepest wound isn't being disrespected, it's when you start to believe it, just because you reacted too quickly, too emotionally, too predictably. The one who controls your reaction doesn't need to strike you, they only need to wait while you do it to yourself. But when you learn to stand still in the storm, when you let anger pass without eruption, you don't shrink, you grow. You don't need to become cold. You don't need to pretend not to care. You simply need to know that reaction is something you can delay. And in that space between stimulus and response lies the final realm of freedom. There, you can choose not to answer an insult. You can choose to step back instead of strike. You can choose silence not as a weakness, but as a strategy, because now you see the game. Emotion is not the enemy, but the lack of clarity when you use emotion as a weapon, that is the quietest betrayal of yourself. A Stoic is not someone who doesn't feel, but someone who refuses to let the first feeling become the final action. They don't react to protect their image, they respond to protect their inner peace. And in that restraint, they keep what others constantly lose: self-command. In a world where everyone wants to win with volume, you will stand apart with silence that cannot be manipulated. 5. Love is not meant to be held, but to know you're still whole without it. Some relationships end not because of a lack of love, but because two people can no longer remain clear-minded in each other's presence. Emotions left unchecked turn into collisions. Expectations left unspoken turn into burdens. And sometimes, unconscious reactions distort love, a pure force, into something pressured and heavy. But even when everything falls apart, it doesn't mean you failed at loving. Perhaps you just need to relearn how to love, not to keep someone beside you, but to understand that you're still whole, even if that love no longer remains. Love, when misunderstood, often turns into possession. We don't want the other person to leave, not because they still fit, but because the emptiness inside us hasn't been healed. We cling not out of desire to walk together, but out of fear of facing ourselves with no name to call out. But a Stoic does not love to escape loneliness. They love with freedom in their mind, knowing that no one is born to fill another's void, and true love never coexists with dependency. Some leave without looking back. Some love you, but can't walk with you to the end. Some promises are made when emotions are warm, then vanish as reality cools. But that doesn't make you less valuable. Your heart wasn't wrong just because it once opened to the wrong person. The fact that you once believed, gave, and hoped isn't weakness. It's a sign that you lived sincerely. You don't need anyone to validate that, nor do you need their return to prove your love was worthy. Love doesn't need to be reciprocated, it only needs to be given sincerely. leaving you with one clear truth. You love the way a mature person loves. To love without holding on doesn't mean you're unfeeling. It means you're strong enough not to define yourself by whether someone stays. Deep enough not to trade your peace for fleeting presence. And most of all, wise enough to see that true love needs no shackles. It comes freely, leaves freely, and leaves behind a part of you that has expanded, not diminished. In Stoicism, love isn't about winning the relationship, it's about winning your inner world. You're not taught how to make others love you longer, but how to stand firm when love is gone. Not every person you love is meant to walk with you forever, but every love that passes through can teach you how to love yourself more deeply. And that is the kind of love no one can take away. 6. Pain is not proof of deep love. It's just a reaction to loss. You can love wholeheartedly, give everything, and still not keep the one you care about. But you can also love gently, quietly, and feel pain just as deeply as in a stormy romance. This shows that the intensity of pain isn't a measure of love's depth, it's merely the mind's natural reaction to losing something that once mattered. After learning how to let go without losing yourself, the next truth you must clearly see is this. Pain doesn't prove you love deeply. It only proves you haven't yet learned how to accept loss. People often confuse two very different things, suffering and meaning. When someone leaves and leaves a void, the sharp ache in your chest convinces you it was a great love. You lie awake at night, clinging to memories, crying your heart out, and conclude, surely I must have loved deeply. But Stoicism would ask a different question. Are you in love or addicted to the feeling of pain? Because often, what you can't let go of isn't the person, but the familiar feeling of having someone to miss, to long for, to blame for your emptiness. Pain is a biological reflex. It arises when a bond is suddenly cut, like losing a habit, a safe zone, a familiar rhythm. And like hunger, pain doesn't always point to something beautiful, it only signals a space that needs to be acknowledged. Not everyone who hurts you deserves to stay in your heart. And the more you hurt doesn't make the experience more sacred. Some people left long ago, yet you still ache not because they were unforgettable, but because you never had the courage to face yourself after their absence. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your own judgment about it." You don't suffer because of the event, you suffer because of the meaning you attach to it. When you stop labeling pain as deep love, you'll see it for what it is, a temporary state, a wave that will pass if you let it. Don't treat it as proof of something grand. It doesn't dignify you, doesn't define your worth, and doesn't decide whether the relationship was truly meaningful. The more you glorify something, the more it becomes a chain, and pain is no exception. See it as a signal, not a definition. Allow yourself to feel it, but don't build a shrine for it in your mind. You don't need to hurt forever to prove you once loved deeply. Sometimes, the truest sign of mature love is your ability to let go in peace, without resentment, without drama. Just a soft smile and a quiet nod to yourself. I've moved on and I'm okay. 7. Don't ask, how do I get them back? Ask, who am I becoming after this loss? Pain doesn't prove the love was deep, but it does pose a greater question for your growth. After everything you've lost, are you still the same person? And if not, is that change pulling you upward or dragging you down? That's the real core of transformation. We often suffer not because we lost someone, but because we don't know who we are becoming after the loss. In long nights filled with regret, instead of wondering, do they still think about me? You should pause and ask, and me, am I becoming more memorable each day? Nothing isolates you faster than emotional fracture. When someone walks away from you, your first instinct is to turn back. You revisit every action, every message, every conversation, trying to locate the exact moment things went off course. And when you find nothing, you blame yourself, shrink down, make yourself smaller. All your energy gets pulled into the past instead of being invested in your present self. But maturity doesn't lie in digging through what's gone. It lives in facing the new version of you, the one who just lost a part of themselves and is now given a chance to rebuild from what remains. Stoicism teaches you not to cling to what has already fallen. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." What you perceive as loss might actually be the thing opening a new path. What stops you from loving again, trusting again, living again, might be the very door that invites you to look deeper within, to reconstruct stronger boundaries, to walk forward with clearer strength. But you only see that when you change the question. From how do I get them back to how am I evolving through this collision? The old question holds you back. The new one helps you move forward. Someone who hurt you isn't the only person you're capable of loving. A relationship that couldn't be saved doesn't mean you won't have one more worthy, more profound. But you'll never reach what's better if you keep yourself stuck at an old checkpoint where you're no longer who you were, and they're no longer who you needed. Instead of tracking how they're living, observe yourself. How do you rise each morning? What are you reading, training, choosing, and who are you choosing to walk with? Because the answer doesn't lie in whether the old person returns. It lies in how you are returning to yourself. Every habit you rebuild, every belief you reclaim, every wound you stop referencing, those are the signs. You're becoming a new version of yourself. Not so someone will come back, but so you no longer need anyone to come back. You are already whole. 8. Peace doesn't arrive when no one hurts you. It arrives when you stop handing your emotions to anyone. When you're strong enough to no longer need someone to return, you begin to understand something more important. No one can take your peace unless you hand it to them. And often we don't lose our peace because we were left. We lose it because we too easily placed our emotions in someone else's hands, believing they'd hold them as gently as we held them. But everyone is battling their own storms, and not everyone is mindful enough to tread lightly on your soul. Peace is not a state of being untouched. It is mastery of the self even when touched. It's the ability to sit in the storm without screaming, without blaming, without waiting for someone to apologize. It's the power to say to yourself, I once loved wholeheartedly, and now I will heal wholeheartedly. Emotions, if not held firmly in your own hands, will be easily manipulated by careless words, impulsive actions, or even cold indifference from others. Each time you're shaken, not because they matter that much, but because you unconsciously let them hold the keys to your soul. In Stoic thought, the inner force always precedes outer conditions. Epictetus once said, "In general, you should not allow yourself to be hurt by what you cannot control." You can't control someone forgetting you, hurting you, or withdrawing their care. But you can fully control how you respond to it. And peace only emerges when you no longer let others define your worth, when their behavior no longer dictates your emotional state. Some lose sleep over a single unanswered message. Others spend a week doubting themselves over a cold glance. That's not weakness. It's simply the result of handing over your entire inner world to someone without realizing it. The more emotional control you give away, the more vulnerable you become to the volatility of what you can't direct. Conversely, the most grounded person is the one who severs emotional cords from the uncontrollable and returns to strengthen what's within. Habits, boundaries, and values that are non-negotiable. And once you're no longer pulled by someone's attitude, you begin to feel a strange kind of serenity. Not because everyone loves you, but because no one's coldness can freeze your heart. You live without waiting, love without dependency, give without attachment. At that point, whether someone comes or goes, you remain you, whole, profound, and composed, as if untouched by anyone. That is the power of the one who keeps their soul in their own hand. 9. Closure is not something someone gives you. It's a door. You quietly close yourself. It's time to accept a truth no one taught you growing up. Peace doesn't come from someone apologizing or returning to explain everything they did. Peace begins when you stop waiting. When you no longer hope someone will help you understand because you've begun to learn how to be the one who ends it. Not everyone is mature enough to give you closure, and you don't need it from them in order to move on. Closure is not a tearful conversation, nor must it be an apology. It is an inner act, quiet, steady when you look into the hollow within, and instead of waiting for someone else to fill it, you close the lingering door yourself. You may never know why they left, never hear the explanation you once believed would heal you, but the truth is, closure doesn't come from answers. It comes from deciding to stop asking. You cannot control someone's silence, but you can choose not to live endlessly in its echo. Each time you keep waiting, keep replaying old memories in hopes of understanding more, you trap yourself in a windowless room. And only when you stop, close the last door yourself, and walk out will you realize there is still sun, still wind, and a life wide open waiting for you outside. No one owes you a clean ending, and you no longer need one, because the strong are those who write their own final chapter without needing anyone to read along. 10. True freedom doesn't come from having someone beside you. It comes from no longer living in illusion. Some doors don't need to be locked because the one who once walked through them is never coming back. But what holds you back isn't them. It's the story you still cling to. Not everyone who leaves is a tragedy, and not every memory deserves a permanent place in your heart. After closing the old door, You may think you've let go, but letting go of a person is one thing. Letting go of the illusion you once built around them, that's the hardest part. We're not chained by the past, but by the idealized version of someone we created. What we think we once had only exists because we chose to remember it in a way that made the emptiness easier to bear. You don't miss them as they were. You miss them as you needed them to be. The more you idealize, the tighter you hold on. And the more you hold on, the more you lose yourself in a relationship that no longer exists. True freedom begins not when someone is by your side, but when you stop trading your present to live inside an illusion. When you stop waiting for messages that will never come. When you stop rereading old conversations as if they still held some hidden answer. When you stop replaying all the what-ifs in your mind because you now know that the truth doesn't need to be beautiful to be accepted. In the eyes of a Stoic, freedom doesn't lie in circumstances, but in the ability to see things as they are. You're no longer deceived by sweet words, by soft memories, by moments that were once real but now only remain as residue. You learn to live with what's actually happening. No embellishment, no denial, no escape. And then you stand not because someone pulled you up, but because you stopped bending down to pick up a piece that no longer fits your life's puzzle. That's the moment you're no longer driven by emotion, but by clarity. That's when freedom is no longer a dream, but a quiet, daily decision filled with unwavering strength. I once kept someone in my mind for months, long after they had left my life, as if nothing meaningful had ever happened. No clear explanation, no decent ending, just me and hundreds of unanswered questions. I lived through days of self-torment, trying to understand what had happened, trying to understand them in order to soothe myself. But the more I understood, the more I lost my direction. And then one day, I stopped. Not because I finally understood them, but because I was simply too tired of needing to. I deleted every old message, not to appear strong, but because I needed space to breathe. I stopped hoping someone would return to give me closure because I realized the only one who needed closure was me. I began to rewrite my habits, my thoughts, and my daily rhythm as if I were living with a new person, not someone else, but a version of myself no longer tied to the past. And strangely enough, from that moment on, without anyone stepping in, I still felt whole. Some things, only when you stop needing them, do you truly have them. If this video helped you see the path back to your quiet inner strength more clearly, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss what comes next. This isn't a place to feel excited, it's where you return when you need a space to recover. You don't need to hold on to anyone to feel complete. You only need enough clarity to stop living in the illusions that make you feel small. I'll see you in the next video.